Listen, this next speaker, we got 2 more speakers, and I'm telling you, we just got good stuff going on tonight. This next speaker, Justin Stoddart, he is a former luxury home builder, host of Think Big Real Estate Podcast, #1 podcast in the space, best-selling author, CEO of Pro Insights, a partner of mine. And I listened to him talk for the first time in Cabo, and I was like, holy crap, I didn't know that guy was that smart. He looks smart. I mean, I don't know if smart has like, an avatar, but he is smart. And more importantly, I don't know what he's talking about tonight, but I hope he's bringing the value that I think he is. This guy, pay attention to what he's saying. Write down what he's thinking. Write down what he's exhibiting to you, because he's a networking genius. And when you listen to the things and the tools that he does, like I did in Cabo, it's a game changer. They've literally taken something as an idea that I watched, I don't know, a year or so ago, and turned it into an absolute massive snowball of a business. And so with that, I'd like to welcome my friend.
Bedroom in the morning, it's like, come on, give me some more of that. Like everywhere I go, that'd be amazing. Today we're going to talk about getting more ideal clients. I want everyone here to take just a second. Think about an ideal client that you worked with recently. Like they were amazing. Everybody have that person in their head? Think of that person right now. Do me a favor, stand up if you would love to have your entire schedule filled with those kinds of clients. Just stand up for me really quickly. If you would love to have more of those kinds of clients filling your life, filling your schedule. Amazing. We're going to talk about that today. This is going to be so much fun. All right, let's get into that, because everybody wants clients, but what if you could just have better clients? More and better, right? That's the recipe we're going for. My promise to you today is multifold. Earn more money without working more hours. Okay? Identify ideal clients before your competitors even know they exist. Okay? And have your ideal clients willing to wait for you, willing to pay for you, and afterwards be so glad that they did. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? All right, that's what we're going to talk about today. And I do promise, if you give me your full attention, I have something that's it's a little bonus that I have for you. So give me your full attention here for the next 15 minutes, and it's going to be valuable. As mentioned, I do host a podcast called Think Bigger Real Estate. I did author a book called The Upstream Model, which is a little bit what we're going to talk about today. And my most favorite role is I get to be the dad of 6 amazing humans and married to that bombshell. Like, I don't know how I did that, but anyway, that's why I do what I do. I obviously love these people to death. I want to share a quick story. Some of you have heard this story. There was a man named Jim. He had spent his entire life working a manual labor job. He was saving and saving and saving and saving, and he wanted to have the ability one day to go on a Mediterranean cruise. And he got to the point where he'd saved up enough money for this cruise. And he was like, now is the time. Like, this was the culminating experience of his life. And the day came when he was prepared to board the ship. Packed all of his luggage, everything that he thought he would want and need, filled it up. Got on the boat, began to unpack his suitcase. This was it. This was the week on the Mediterranean. And inside of that suitcase, you 2 guys over here know this story. Began to unpack this suitcase. Inside of it were cans of beans and saltine crackers. He was like, this is all I'm going to need for the whole week. And every once in a while, he would peek out of his stateroom door and he would think, man, these people going to these fancy dinners, how would that be? But I don't want to be unhappy with this privilege, this opportunity of being here on this incredible ship. So he spent the rest of the week inside of his stateroom enjoying the views of the Mediterranean. Like he was right there, right through that little stateroom window. Now, some of you are confused. You're like, what is Jim doing? Well, the last day of the cruise, the bellman comes up and says, sir, what is the final dinner? Like, which of the final dinners would you like to attend? And Jim was like, I appreciate the offer, but I don't have any more means than what I had to get me here. So I won't be attending any of them. The bellman, super confused, is like, I don't know that I don't understand. Like, the dinner is included. All the dinners have been included. All the entertainment, all of it, it's all been included. And in that moment, Jim had a little bit of a awakening. He realized that he had been living far below his privileges. He had been showing up in the world as if he didn't belong somewhere. But he did. He belonged at the finest tables. My invitation to those of you who are in the real estate industry right now is to consider that maybe you have been living below your privileges. That maybe you've been showing up as just a solicitor, just a measly real estate salesperson here to put a sign in the yard, when in actuality, you have been dealing with the most important purchase and emotional decision of someone's life. Maybe you belong at the very best tables. Rather than minimizing your identity, right, accepting an inferior identity, maybe we should recognize who we really are. Right? Maybe we should recognize the influence that we can have in someone's life. I'm going to walk you through quickly what it looks like internally as well as externally to take on this greater identity of being someone who can not only work with families with an increased posture, but work with the other professionals like estate attorneys, like tax professionals, like insurance agents, like all of these maybe higher level professionals that maybe belong at the fancy tables and I don't belong there. No. I'm going to show you how you can belong at those very tables and move out of the stateroom, so to speak, and really take your place at the head of the table, serving families in a way that you haven't in the past. So very quickly, this quick exercise, what I want you to do is to calculate your dollar per hour very quickly. Take your annual income from this past year. You can do this mentally or quickly on your phone. Annual income, and I want you to divide that by 2,000 hours. Okay? Everybody quickly, that is your dollar per hour. Okay? Everybody got that? Okay. Now, I want to show you a quick way to increase that dollar per hour. Okay? We all recognize that in this world of real estate, we have to be in conversations with people. Conversion happens in conversation. No conversations, no conversion, no business. But the caliber of conversations that we're having and who we're having those conversations with changes everything. For example, if you show up as a mere solicitor, as I mentioned, okay, begging for business, you may make 1,000 phone calls, okay, 100 dials a day for 2 weeks straight, gets you a deal in the pipeline. Nothing wrong with that, right? But if you were to look at how much money you made per dial, it was about $10. Okay, a little below minimum wage, no problem. But what if you were to not just be a solicitor where you're calling strangers to get something? What if you were calling people that you knew, okay, to ask them if they were looking to buy or sell? Your dollar per hour just went up to $100 because you don't have to call as many of them. They know you, they trust you, they'll take your call, okay? So now you're moving up the pay scale. Now, what if you called not to get something from these people, right, but to give something, right? Not to get, but to give, okay? That's the role of a connector. A connector, same $10,000 commission, makes only 50 calls, okay? You see how just the way in which you're calling and who you're calling changes your dollar per hour. Let's go up one more level, which is called an advisor. $400 per call. Okay, $10,000 commission, you just need 25 calls statistically as an advisor in order to raise that dollar per hour. You're still making calls. Let's not kid ourselves that we're not making calls. We're still making calls. We're just making better qualified calls, right? We're making calls with greater influence, adding more value, okay? And last but not least, what we call a director. Now, a director is somebody who doesn't just call to advise. A director is somebody who is connected to other professionals, like I mentioned, estate attorneys, property managers, insurance agents, tax professionals. And you're not only connecting your clients to these people, but you're collaborating with these other professionals. Every time you have a client, they have more than just you that they need. They have other professionals that they need. And if we stop looking at the world through a silo of I'm a real estate agent, I'll help you buy and sell real estate, but we start saying, what are the other professionals that this person needs in their life? We start to look holistically, and we begin to not only connect them to a professional, but we begin to collaborate with that professional in the service of our clients. We've now become a director, a board of directors, right? Like we have created something very unique for that client. And it begins by building a powerful network, which, by the way, is more simple than you think, right? It really is more simple than you think. I'm going to walk you through a couple tips here. Now, I want you to think about, if you were to recalculate your dollar per hour, not what you made last year, but what you want to make this upcoming year. Desired annual income. Do the numbers again. What's that annual income? Okay, do the math. Grab your phone real quick. Do the math. What's your desired annual income divided by 2,000 hours again? That's your dollar per hour that you need to have. And my guess is you're probably saying, I need to make more director level calls than I do solicitor level calls. It's not just about the calls, it's about who you're calling and the value that you're offering collectively, collaboratively with other people. Okay? I want everybody to do this exercise really quickly. Grab your phone really quickly, grab that QR code. It's going to ask you 3 questions. Okay? I'm going to give you just a minute here. 3 questions. The first question is going to be, how many people are in your database? Okay, we can do this together. How many people are in your database? Like relationships, not like a lead list that you have no idea who these people are. Okay? You're going to get, actually, the people who you know, they know you, true relationship. Okay, write that number down. Okay? The next question will be, how many referrals did you get from that database? Okay? And then when you go to the third one's going to be, how much money do you make on each referral that comes in? Right? Closed commissions do you earn on that? Okay? Those 3 simple questions, enter your name and email. It's going to send you what your referral gap is. How many referrals you are currently missing out on in your personal sphere, with some ideas on how to also leverage a professional sphere. Okay? All right, I'm going to keep going while you guys are wrapping that up. I want you to think of it this way. As I mentioned before, the promise is to help you to increase your dollar per hour, to make more money, work less hours. Okay? We've recognized that we can't just dial harder. We actually have to dial more intelligently. Okay, so let me take, for example, personal sphere in a typical year, 300 well-nurtured friends, family, and neighbors, on average, will convert at about 10%. In other words, a database of 300 should convert about 30 closings per year. Okay? That's in a typical year. Now, when people are buying and selling less frequently because of maybe higher rates or less inventory, that number's maybe a little less generous than that. But if you were to add 20 closings from or if you wanted to add 20 closings from your personal sphere, you would need to add 200 additional friends, family, and neighbors. Do you guys all agree? Working by referral. 200 more at a 10% conversion rate would be 20 more closings per year. Does anybody here have time to add 200 more friends, family, neighbors, right? That's where it gets hard. It's like, how do I scale a referral-based business? Okay, how do I get out of the stateroom when I'm stuck down here, right? Eating freaking saltine crackers and beans. Let me out of here, right? Here's the path. Rather than having a personal sphere only, we have a professional sphere. Okay? In other words, 20 professional partners, each of whom refer you 1 time per quarter or 4 times per year. That equals 80 referrals. If just 25% of those close, that'd be an additional 20 additional clients per year. So the choice is, do I add 200 friends, family, and neighbors, or do I find 20 professional partners with whom I collaborate at a high level to produce the same 20 referrals? I don't know about you, but I don't have time for 200 more friends, family, and neighbors to cultivate, but 20 professional partners? Possibly. That sounds more doable, right? Coming from a guy who has a lot of kids, like, I know numbers, okay? 20 seems way less daunting than 200. Now let me share with you here really quickly. The book I authored, The Upstream Model, teaches you this, that most real estate agents are hanging out down where everyone else is hanging out, doing all the same things, they're just trying to do it harder and faster, okay? What I realized as a home builder is I didn't want to hang out down there. I wanted to get upstream. I wanted to hang out up here by these other professionals. Okay, for me as a home builder, it was an architectural designer. For you as a real estate agent, it might be a financial advisor, an insurance agent, the right lender, property manager, okay, private banker, right? These other professionals are already dealing with your clients, and they know at the moment that their client needs a real estate agent. This isn't nurture people while they kick tires for 6 months. This is actually, no, they need to buy and sell a property now. I'm going to introduce you, okay? That's the path. That's what this model provides. So rather than having a giant database of people that you're nurturing and a small number of referrals from that, you get a small database of professional partners that produces a large number of referrals, okay? It just flips that equation on its head. It's, again, having a professional sphere, okay? And what that looks like, you think about anytime there's an event in someone's life, like an inheritance, for example, it's more than just a real estate agent that's needed. There's insurance agents, estate attorneys, real estate agents, tax professionals, financial advisors. We just have to train ourselves to say, what is causing this life event? Or what is causing this real estate transaction? What else is happening? Who else do they need to be connected to? I'm going to connect them. We give value to these professionals, okay? We add more value to the client, and we add more value to them. Now, your network will determine your net worth, okay? So it's important for us to recognize that when we work by professional referral, we're actually doing our clients a great service, right? We're transferring trust to another professional. People appreciate that. There's additional accountability with that professional, okay? And there's collaborative service that happens afterwards. This is the best way to improve your client experience and get referrals from your clients is knock their socks off with value. And at the same time, you're giving value to these other professionals, which allows them to want to reciprocate, right? So one of the challenges that we find is sophisticated professionals rarely refer real estate agents. Okay, why is that? When I was authoring the book, I found that on average, the financial advisor has the ability to refer 18 times a year. Do you want to know how many times they actually refer? 0. Almost 0 times of those 18 opportunities that fall in their lap, they don't. Okay? But that's easy to change because most real estate agents don't show up in their life as a real estate wealth advisor. They show up as a solicitor. Here's a stack of cards. Please refer me, if they do that at all. Rather than showing up to add value to those professionals. Okay? So here's some interesting statistics that'll help us wrap this up. $37.5 trillion of American household wealth is held in real estate. Like, hello, we belong at the highest tables in that ship, right? We belong at that table. There's a lot of money that's going to be transferring hands very quickly. 18.3 trillion of that baby boomer wealth is held in real estate. That is going to be changing hands over the next decade. If we position ourselves as real estate wealth advisors, build a network around us, give value to those professionals, not only will we create ideal clients coming to us, but that experience that those ideal clients have will be collaborative and unique like no one else has experienced before. Okay? So what we've created at ProInsight, right, is a way for you to connect easily with these ideal clients. We're building a multi-industry network across the country that allows you to search across 30 different industries and find professionals with whom you can collaborate. And we train those professionals all how to collaborate. So one of the things that Matthew actually mentioned is in there, we give you the ability to do a deep dive on your database, which allows you to see all the properties that they own, what their property net worth is, to really where now you are truly a wealth advisor for their real estate portfolio. If you're interested in that, feel free to scan that. But I'll tell you this. My invitation to each of you is that you belong at the best table on the ship in the Mediterranean. You do not belong in the stateroom. Those that keep themselves in the stateroom will not be in business, right? There's going to be an exodus out of this industry with those that are not prepared. The fact that you're here tonight tells me a lot about you. Now it's time to take your place at that table. And it's a very simple path for you to simply begin to collaborate with those other professionals, adding higher value, and in the process, getting ideal clients coming at you from them on the regular. Thank you all for the opportunity to be here.